Our guest in this half hour is going to be talking with us. I'm going to call it, I'm going to say it's about mental health. I was just telling a friend this last night, saying what I'd like to do is get an RV and take off for some long weekends where I could sit by a campfire and cook my coffee over the campfire and maybe flip a couple of burgers. I said that would help me come back recharged for work. But there are a number of things, obviously, that you can do in your life that will perhaps provide you with a little bit more happiness. Dr. Jonathan Tripp in studio with us this morning. Better Health with Tripp Family Medicine. It's 8:34. We're at 36. Bill Colley grabbing the telephone calls too as well. First of all, welcome back.
Good morning.
We,
Excited to be here. I got a topic that is not as easy to put your finger on as the flu or strep throat or something along those lines. I titled this morning's discussion on the pursuit of happiness, living in the now, and this is kind of a big deal, and it comes with some good, shall we say, respectable sources. We got Harvard. Medical School. They did a special report on this, and then also Mayo Clinic has a book out that talks to this subject really well called The Guide to Stress-Free Living. And so it does involve your mental health, but I go way beyond just feelings of anxiety or depression, but there's some keys in this discussion this morning that will at least point you the right direction, and yet this is one about practice. So I wanted to come up with a great example, but I didn't come up with a great example of about like taking a 20-second test. So I'm going to tell you what to do on your own, but not do it during our show this morning. But for 20 seconds, I dare you, or how did the old days you say, I double dog dare you, to focus
I saw that in a
on.
movie once.
Did you? Okay. To focus on what's going on right now in your life, meaning where you are, where you're sitting. If you're driving, I don't want you to do this, because you need to at least be paying attention to what you're doing driving. But when you're not doing something that could be dangerous to yourself or others, I want you to sit for 20 seconds and see if you can focus on your breathing, sounds going on around you, smells, and just keep focusing on that. See if you can do that without your mind going to your past, your future, your plans for the day, what's on your work agenda, what you got to get the kids off to. Um, See if you can do that for 20 seconds, and you'll be impressed how hard it is.
Right.
And it's
I
we.
know this from church. You go in and you try to do a little meditation before things start. And, there's always people who can't do that. They've got to start chatting about,
Oh
well,
yeah,
back in 1997, I remember.
yeah. No, in fact, this technique is called mindfulness, according to how Harvard Medical School put it. But it's staying mentally in the present moment, or another way of saying it is mindfulness is the practice of purposely focusing your attention on the present moment. Now, why would we want to do this? I mean, it sounds like a bunch of hippies hanging out, and you know, I went to San Francisco recently and drove all through where they lived for months and months, and now the city won't allow anybody to sleep anywhere. You know, on the you can't sleep on a park bench, or anything without it being technically illegal. So this is not just um from the '60s. This is Let me give you some of the benefits of this. Um, Mindfulness, that's what you use that term because it's easier than saying living in the moment. Um, it increases your capacity and improves well-being in general, but they're saying lots of attributes that contribute to being having a satisfied life. In fact, this is the way I posed it at the beginning: is how would you like to be more satisfied, worry less, become more engaged in activities, and form deeper connections with others? That sounds pretty good,
Right.
especially the part about worrying less, because a lot of us spend a lot of time with worries about what's coming, what might happen, what could happen, um, or we're spending a lot of time on regrets from the past, failures, which contributes to the worries of the future.
That can also have like a psychosomatic effect on your overall health,
Oh,
too.
it can change everything physically as well as mentally. So this is a big topic. Let me go and talk about the background. Um, Part of my trip to San Francisco also, I got to go to the California Academy of Science, and in their front door almost there are two skulls of saber-toothed tigers. And the fangs on these guys are easily the size of my hand. And so, when we talk about saber-toothed tigers being pretty threatening, you know, I, you can have a small dog, what I'd call an ankle biter, and they get a little threatening. But imagine something that's big, fast, and has teeth the size of your hand. That's a pretty big threat. So, you think of it anciently, we lived in a total state of vulnerability. We were not the top of the food chain. And so, think of those meerkats that sit out in Africa, and they're just popping up and down out of the hole and looking around and always looking left, looking right really quickly. They're constantly, or we were constantly looking for the next attack by, a snake, a lion, or, a painful or poisonous plant. So naturally, we're distracted. It's what helped us survive, and we'll continue with,
even though times have changed.
yeah.
We've got more coming up with Dr. Jonathan Tripp in just a minute or so. 37 right now. It's Better Health with Tripp Family Medicine. Bill Cowley as well on News Radio 1310 KLIX and newsradio1310.com. Our guest is Dr. Jonathan Tripp, Better Health with Tripp Family Medicine. We'll get to our topic again in just a moment, but it's about how maybe taking a better approach to your life mentally can help you out, also physically too, as well. Uh, we wanted to point out, though, very quickly as well, Doctor, for people who'd like to get in touch with you, how do they go about doing that?
Well, let's see. Phone number. That's the easiest for me. It's area code 208 933 4400. That's 933 4400. We're located on Fillmore Street across from the post office on the north side of town. Our website is trippfamilymedicine.com. And you can also post and reach us on Facebook at Tripp Family Medicine. So those are three good sources, or you can walk in the door and make an appointment right there. But just a reminder, we do frequently same-day appointments for people that are sick or hurt. If you're going to see us about chronic illness or chronic problems, we're probably not going to get you in the same day, but that's our attempt. We leave open spots every day, so you don't have to do urgent care at the emergency room unless we really need you to go there.
And I just want to put in a little plug. Our chief engineer, Mike, is also one of the patients at your office and speaks, he thinks the world of Russell. So
Oh, that's awesome.
it says it's a great place to go and he always feels welcome because a lot of people don't necessarily feel welcome when they're on the way to the doctor's office.
No, in fact, our office is a very different experience. It doesn't feel sterile. You're very much more at home. It is different than going to what I call corporate medicine, where you really do feel like you're on a cattle call. That doesn't mean I'm really good at remembering everybody's names. I'm awesome with faces, but not great with names. And yet, some of my other providers, like Jeremy in particular, is just fantastic with you. Pull out a name or ask somebody's name, he knows it. So we have four providers in our office. Three guys, one girl, and I will tell you, every one of them is just very bright. And we share our patients. So you really often are getting two or three opinions on a visit that you're not even aware of because there's a lot of interaction between the providers when we see patients.
We were talking during the break, and one of the subtitles of today's discussion, I said, should be a song title. We live in the age of distraction.
Yep. No, this is a natural occurrence from if whether you really believe in evolution or not. If you go farther back, we were always under threat of being killed. So those that survived are those that are more alert, more paying attention, or easily identifying what's on the horizon. And so today we don't have the saber-toothed tiger that's threatening us, but as we have in front of us electronics. I mean, the phone is probably your number one.
Beep doop, it
It,
goes beep doop, and you
it,
want to pick it up and see what it's what's going
it
on.
is. It becomes addictive. You hear a little, you feel a vibration, hear a tone. I got to check it. Why? Because I do. You get accustomed to that. So whether you're texting, whether you're interneting, whether you're, watching television, listening to radio, just the news in general, it takes you away from what you're really doing right at the moment. And so for us, it's pressure from our work or other scheduling needs. It's our family lives. I'll say it's things that we, quote, have to get done. And so we often distract ourselves with more than we really need to.
We've got a telephone caller.
Okay.
Caller, you're on the air with Dr. Jonathan Tripp at call at 845 on KLIX. Go ahead.
Count your blessings. Somebody has it worse. People in avalanches, earthquakes, children at St. Jude's and Shriners Hospital. Count your blessings.
I think that's well said.
I think it's well said. In fact, I have another one that I would add to that, and that is we joked, especially after we did our Nicaragua trip 2 summers ago. A lot of the things that we worry about, fear about, are first world problems. In other
Yes.
words, it's because we have so much that we worry about things that may not even be that important. So count your blessings is a great one to say.
We've got another caller with us. Caller, you're up next. You're on the air with Dr. Jonathan Tripp. Go ahead.
Yeah, good morning, Bill. Good morning, Dr. Tripp. You mentioned that a lot of phobias or kind of distractions come from our past. What do you do, like, let's say if a person has a phobia like ophidiophobia, spiders, or what's fear of snakes, or other modern phobias like fear of the flying interchanges. I know you're not a psych, but what do you do? You see the origins of those problems. So what do you do for someone? You say, okay, well, here's some medication or cognitive behavior therapy or hypnosis. What's
I like where you went with cognitive behavior therapy. That is basically kind of working through those fears, addressing them, trying to put them into real perspective as to what's the real threat. And that's why I brought up the saber-toothed tiger, because there's nobody that's going to run into a saber-toothed tiger nowadays. But I'll tell you what, you get out in the dark, and you have a big yard like I do, and it's a little bit of a threat. What might be out there? What don't you know about? And so putting those into a little more or a practiced confrontation of that fear is probably what cognitive behavior does. In fact, kind of where we're going with this discussion today fits that perfectly. We're going to talk about a lot of people shy away from the term meditation, but if you're talking about focusing on what's going on in the moment and then really not living in the fear of, let's say, this case, spiders that are going to suddenly come out of somewhere and attack you, you learn to spend less time in the fear and more time in what's really going on, and that helps establish that your reality is not that big a threat.
And I want to thank him for the call. I just read yesterday where people who are considered loners are often, they have a lot of friends. They just prefer that time, and that time is where they work out their problems, but they don't dwell on them. They go away and they go up to a mountaintop and they look at the beauty and they have some time and they solve their problems and then they come down. But people say, well, Joe over there is a loner, but that's not the case. He's taking that time to meditate.
Yeah, and I'm not really great at this either. I loved the idea of long drives without any media and just letting my mind wander. This is different. This is actually focusing on a given problem, focusing on a given plan. So, like, if you're in the shower and your mind is just all over the place, that's called rumination. You're just letting fears, past, present, future, all combine in one, and your brain really doesn't distinguish between those. And so fears in particular become unrealistic because they're not really about what's going on. They're about everything combined. But if you're in the shower and you're actually planning through that, picnic with the family in 2 or 3 days and how you're gonna, who's gonna bring what, now you're actually living in the moment. Even though it's the shower, you're not at the picnic, but you're actually going through a focused planning. That's different. And it makes people more satisfied, more happy because they aren't lost in the multiple possibilities of what could cause them trouble, like a spider attack or, what my boss is thinking or my coworkers thinking. Um, so distractions we have, plentiful. In fact, I got to bring up one thing. George Orwell wrote 1984 and talked about Big Brother and how it was going to take us over, and the computers, and a lot of that's kind of true. We have a lot of invasion that way. But there was a contrasting author that talked about no, what's going to happen is we will get to the point where we will entertain ourselves to death. And that's kind of the threat of where we really are is We spend all the time on YouTube and, looking at various things and spending our time saying, what did my friends see recently? Wasn't that really funny? Or, is kind of, you know, you think back to America's funniest home videos. That's all about entertainment, but we take it to the kind of what's called the nth degree of we're just always living somewhere outside of ourselves, and that that makes dissatisfaction because we believe our lives. Like if you look at Facebook, you're always seeing everybody's good parts, all the cool things they did. They just went to Europe. They just went to Hawaii. They just had this great party. Well, and then we start to believe that that's how everybody lives all the time, and that's not real. That's totally fake. But your brain can't distinguish that.
A friend of mine in college once said she was a big fan of soap operas, but she even admitted, she said, we watch those and we see these lives these people are living. They live in big homes, they've got fancy clothes, and suddenly you think you should have those things.
Yes. Oh, yeah. No, and that's the fault of every generation that I know of. That as they were 20 something, they believe they should have everything their parents have had that they've worked for the prior 30 years, and that's one my kids struggle with. So we're trying to help them see that it's okay not to have it all. But let me go through some of the benefits of this living in the moment. So you're less likely to get caught up in worries about the future and regrets of the past. We've talked about that. It helps increase satisfaction. It decreases your worries about concerns about others, your self esteem, and it allows you to make better, deeper connections with others. So that's well being in general. Physical health. It actually helps relieve stress to focus on the moment rather than ruminate and think about all the past, present, and future. It actually helps treat heart disease, lower blood pressure, reduces chronic pain. I found that one impressive. It improves sleep and alleviates stomach problems, gastrointestinal disorders. So that's physical. Now you go to mental, it actually decreases depression, decreases the rate or the frequency of substance abuse and falling back into those addictions. It reduces the number of eating disorders, conflicts within relationships, and anxiety disorders, and those are what some of those phobias are about, and obsessive compulsive disorder. I got to have all my socks just the right way in the drawer. Apparently, I don't suffer from that one. I just looked at my socks this morning. Um, but so how to do this? Well, it really is going to take more on your own effort to say, how do I focus this? And you can do, there's self-help books, there's tapes, there's groups that get together, and you can have someone kind of instruct you through how to meditate or how to keep your brain focused. And when you can go beyond 20 seconds and you can do it for a minute, and then you can do it for 2 or 3 minutes, all of a sudden your ability to catch yourself being distracted and saying, no, 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 I need to be right here, right now, so that I have this relationship working. I say relationship because it can be person to person, but whether it's, you're showering, whether you're walking, you're, with the spouse, playing with a child or a grandchild, what you're doing is you're attempting to focus on what you're doing, how you're feeling, and what you're seeing. And so this is a practiced art, if you will, but it's something that will bring satisfaction and decreased worry into your life. And, it's, to me, it's very powerful stuff, and I'm just kind of getting my feet wet on it. So there's lots of fears, financial, spiders, you name it, fears of relationships deteriorating. But, if you're trying to have your conversation while you're still texting, probably that conversation isn't very focused. So consider, living in the now and moving from there. And
I'm reminded of an Andy Griffith episode where a visiting pastor tells them at church that they've got to learn how to slow it down
yeah,
because they have too many distractions in their lives.
in
And
Mayberry RFD.
right,
Yeah.
but during the whole sermon, Barney sleeps,
Yeah.
and then as he's leaving, says to him, "It was a great sermon, Reverend."
He was definitely slowing it down. No, I want to bring up some other stuff. I really debated whether to do a whole show on our cosmetics
We got about a
include
minute,
it.
so go ahead.
So let me tell you a little bit about that. We have had some very successful what we call peel parties where we've had people pay to be there. We go through a consultation, we do some treatments and have a lot of fun with that. And then just almost everybody says, yeah, I'm in on this. And because these are non-threatening treatments, but we have some really fun stuff. Um, what I'll call cutting edge, but not too scary. And they're things that can take 3, 5, sometimes 10 years off of the look of your skin. And so we have a seminar that we're going to do on the 20th. I think that's a Tuesday of this month, where it's free. You're welcome to come, but we want you to call and kind of RSVP so we know how many people are coming. Last time we did this, we filled our entire waiting room and overflow. So please do call us at 933-4400 if you want to be in on this seminar. Bring a friend.
It's
It's
for
a
men and women,
It
too, we
is,
should point
yeah,
out.
and it's a lot of fun. It's the kind of thing that you don't have to work real hard to make things look quite a bit better, and none of the neighbors will even know if you're doing it. So feel free to call our office 933-4400 and just ask them about the cosmetic seminar. So this is fun. Brag a little bit. My background is I was a speaker for the largest laser company in the world. For about 2 years, they flew me all over the U.S. and Canada. Cosmetics is something I know a lot about, much more than kind of the average practitioner that says, "Hey, why don't we dabble in this?" But we've focused on family medicine, so I wouldn't get confused as only the foo-foo doc. But foo-foo is back.
Want to thank
So,
you. We'll talk again soon.
alrighty.
And remember, everybody, you got to relax. We've
That's
got a
right.
break coming up for news from Fox. Maybe that's not all that relaxing, but
But keep your focus.
keep your focus.
That's right.
We've got time check 8:59 and 35 on News Radio 1310 KLIX and newsradio1310.com.